Hello, and we are live. With thanks over to Mickey at Creative Edge Publicity, we get the honor of getting to speak with Canadian author JP McLean. JP, how are you doing?
I'm fine. It's terrific to be on your show and finally meet you face to face, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I love my authors and I love supporting all authors, but it's just like the cherry on top when they're a fellow Canadian.
Aw, thank you. I feel the
so you
same.
You must be in celebration mode. If you guys don't know, JP just had a book release yesterday, Bloodmark. So you must be still in celebration, having a good time mode.
It has been so busy, so busy. This is probably the biggest launch I've ever had, thanks to Mickey. Yeah.
Yes.
So I've been doing lots of live and recorded videos and interviews and spreading the word. It's been fun. It's been wild. I'm going to be exhausted. This weekend I am going to sleep in.
You'll have to go into hibernation, like the bears during winter.
Yeah. Get away from me.
So I'm really excited to dive in to get to know more about you and your work, especially your new release. But before we do that, you were quite the traveler. You've lived in quite a few areas, haven't you? Or quite a few places?
I have. I traveled a lot with my husband's work. I shouldn't say a lot because he did so much more before I ever met him. But it got to a point where we were living here on this little island full time, and he decided he'd like to do a little more work. So we lived in Calgary for one winter. Good Lord, that's cold. -22 that winter. And then we spent a year in the Baja, and then I didn't get a job. He got a job in Mexico. So we lived in Mexico for a year, and not in resort town, in a little mining town. And then we lived in Tucson for 3 years. And it was after that, when I came home, that I took up writing fiction.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't know that. That's awesome. You said -22?
-22.
That's not bad. We're used to getting a week or two cold snap where it's -47 plus the wind chill.
Oh,
You'll have to come back to Alberta and then you'll be like, nope, that's it. I'm out of here.
I thought that was pretty cold. I mean, I would come in the house and I would just be beet red. And I had a pretty warm coat on, but everything that was out and exposed was beet red.
Yes. Good luck getting your vehicle to start in the morning, even if it's plugged in. We are headed that way. The snow is coming soon for us. So you stay there. Stay there. You can take the rain and the little bit of chilly days.
We'll drown. You can freeze.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's just say hi to everyone that's in here. We have Mr. Morningstar. Thank you for coming. We have Linda's World of Books. Thank you so much for coming, Linda. It means so much. We have James here. We also have Hyperactive Bookworm from Australia. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Australia.
That's it. I think we should go to Australia. I hear it's a lot warmer there. Jay, thank you so much for coming in.
Jay as in JP too. Woo! J Power.
Yeah, that's right, Jay. We've got Juicy in here. Thank you. Yes, Ghostface has replaced Monier on my shelf there just for a little bit. Monier's still up there, but he's just a little higher up. Hot and sweltering there. Well, then I think we know where we need to go, JP. We need to go hang out where it's a lot warmer. We've got Andreas here. Thank you so much for coming in and for sharing earlier as well. We've got Heidi that's popped in here. So to everyone that's in the chat, if you have any lovely questions for JP here, let me know. Pop them into the chat and I will pop them onto the screen. If I miss it, you guys know the drill. Just keep asking it until I see it because it may slip through the cracks eventually. We've got Lewis that's popped in here from the UK as well. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. It means so much. Look at this. You're popular. You've got a whole bunch of people in here waiting.
All around the world.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm excited. Can we jump right into Bloodmark? Can you tell us more about what it's about?
Sure. So it is Jane Walker's story. And Jane Walker was born with 3 strikes against her. First off, she was abandoned at birth. And second of all, she bears blood red birthmarks that snake around her body, which is what you see in the book cover. And the third strike against her, she suffers from debilitating nightmares where she sees into the past, and it's always awful things that she's seeing, abuse and such that she sees. And she makes her way out of the rooming house in the downtown east side where she and her best friend from when they were in group homes have been living. They get a half decent apartment, and that's where the story starts. She thinks she's just on a roll. She's met this lovely guy, and she thinks that the world is just going right for her. And then her marks start to disappear, and that's like the icing on the cake. Got a guy that's interested, moved out of the downtown east side. Now my marks are disappearing, until she finds out that there is a killer stalking her, and the only thing keeping her alive are these blood marks, and they are disappearing.
Oh, well, if that isn't the hook right there, that last little piece, I'd be like desperate trying to like tattoo them on myself or something.
Draw them back on.
Well, now I want to know what happens once all the blood marks are gone. Well, if that doesn't hook you right there, and the beautiful cover, you can see the beautiful cover sitting behind her there. I was eyeing it down earlier today. Oh, there we go. Oh my goodness. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Did you get to like take part in the cover design of that, or did somebody just kind of come to you and say, "What do you think?"
Well, it's a company called JD&J out of the States that does the covers, and they came up with that picture. I gave them a little bit of an idea. The mark on her was the hardest thing to get because there was really nothing that represented that mark naturally. So she rides a motorcycle. She rides a Honda Rebel. And so I thought, well, what would be nice is just as a motif, we'll take the tire track, like a bicycle tire track, and color it blood red and use that as the mark on her. And I had the funniest conversation with a girlfriend because I had the mock-up, and I says, and we're walking, I had it on my phone, what do you think of this? And she says, well, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but it kind of looks like the poor woman's been run over by a bike, not once, but twice. So that didn't fly. So then we went back to what he ended up doing. The guy's name is Dave. What he ended up doing was taking a Inca pattern, a real Inca pattern, and doubling it on itself and squishing it, and then squishing it this way in order to get that mark. So it's very unique. It does have some Inca culture buried in it, but that's how he ended up coming up with that mark. And I don't know where he found that model, but that's one sexy cover. I like that. I like what he came up with.
Yes, absolutely. I was eyeing it down today. And you know how they say don't judge a book by its cover, or don't buy a book because of its cover. But with this day and age with social media and all the scrolling we do, or the holding up of a book in YouTube videos, I mean, a cover says a lot. If it's a nice looking cover, you're gonna want to go pick it up just for the cover alone.
I've done that. I've definitely done that.
I think we're all just a little. I mean, you can't tell that there's nobody that's ever done that before. We do, Hyperactive Bookworm says, "Oh, that cover is everything." I agree, and Heidi says, "Yes, I thought that would make cool tattoos." Yeah, that would make really cool tattoos if you're willing to have it, because she's got it even like across like her forehead, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's got it across. Yeah. Definitely.
Maybe it needs to be a dare. I'll cover it up with the bangs.
Oh, no.
Oh no, that's too funny. Well, that's really exciting. Where did the idea for that come from? Because that's really unique and different.
The initial idea came from the opening scene to Blind Spot. If you've ever seen that show where the woman gets dumped she's in a duffel bag and she's dumped into Times Square, and the police think it's a bomb. So the guy in a detonation suit is opening the bag up, and the woman unfolds, and she's absolutely covered in tattoos from the neck down. And she doesn't know how she got them, or why she has them, or when it happened. She's got no memory of any of it. And I was so taken with that. I thought, oh, this has such possibility. So that's kind of the initial inspiration for it. Then, of course, layered in a bunch of imaginary other things like the Inca culture and a little bit of time slip.
Oh, well then you've got one heck of a good imagination. That was gonna be one of my questions is where do you get your ideas from? Do they just come to you? Is it dreams? Is it things you see just day to day?
Dreams are big with me. I don't know why, but my whole first series is based on a dream I have of flying, which is, I mean, don't laugh at me. There's a lot of people dream of flying. It's one of the 10 most popular, one of the 5 most popular dreams. So that whole first series that was based on a dream I have of flying. So that's a secret society of people who can fly is the first series. This one was sort of that, I don't know if I have very vivid dreams, and there's a period of time, like a 2 or 3 seconds when you first wake up, that you're not quite rid of the dream and you're still attached to the emotions. So you're angry about something, or you're upset, or you're confused, or there's that few seconds of emotion. And so when the Jane Walker in this book dreams, she has that vivid reality of thinking that it's real, and maybe it is real. It actually is.
Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night thinking I need to write this idea down and then it doesn't make any sense when you go back to it?
Yeah, and yes, that has happened. I have tried to do it in the nighttime, like without turning the light on to wake up my husband. So I'll try writing it down. It is gibberish in the morning, but other times I'll be just in the light sleep of just going to sleep, and I'll come up with a brilliant idea, and I'll say to myself, there's no way you're going to forget that. So don't worry about it. Just go to sleep. In the morning, you just make that note when you wake up, and you wake up in the morning, you think, pretty sure I had a really good idea before I went to bed last night. I can't remember what it was. All because I'm too lazy to get out of bed and write it down.
Those are some of the worst times when you have the best dream ever and then you can't remember what it was. Yes, Hyperactive Bookworm says the cover is that will make her consider reading the blurb. If the cover doesn't grab her, she will skip through. Yeah, absolutely. The cover is the initial thing that sinks your teeth into you. Absolutely. See, look, Juicy said there was flying in her dream there, the larva dragon dream last night. See, so flying is definitely part of our dreams. Just glide, the world's uncoolest hoverboard. One day, Lewis, you will fly in one of your dreams. Was writing always a passion of yours? Did you know you always wanted to be an author?
I never thought I'd have an idea big enough for a book. I mean, I always thought being an author would be cool, mostly because I was raised in Toronto where there is snow and slush. And I remember commuting to work in the slush and snow and thinking, oh man, wouldn't it be nice to sit at home in my jammies, drinking coffee and writing instead? But I, honest to God, never thought I'd have an idea big enough for a book. But that isn't how the first book that I wrote started. That first book I wrote started on heels of that wonderful couple of years in the sun and being back on the West Coast and sideways rain and cold and windy and the ocean frothing and hockey on the TV. And I don't really follow hockey. So I was thinking, how am I going to spend my first winter back? And decided I would write a scene that had been stuck in my head. And I've been reading an awful lot of paranormal and urban fantasy. And I really like the first person perspective from writing from that perspective. So I wrote that one scene of a woman jumping off a deck and flying down the coast. And I just wondered if I could make it sound real. And I worked at it a couple of nights and got it to the point where I really thought it would fly. Thought it was a pretty good scene. So then I thought to myself, wait a second. She's not just going to wake up one day and jump off a deck. She knows she can fly or she wouldn't jump off the deck. And if she knows she can fly, are there other people like her? And where did she come from? How did she learn this? How did this weird mutation happen? And so that story kind of built out from both sides and ended up being a book. So that's how that first one started. Now I'm much more methodical about it. Of course, I plan it out a little better than I did back then, but it's still fun. Still love doing it. It's my reward.
Absolutely. James in here has a really good question that he always asks, and I end up stealing it from him. How much of the story do you have planned before you start putting pen to paper?
I always think I have the majority of it planned, but I'm always surprised that I don't have it as planned as I thought I had it. So I always come up with surprise scenes, or the characters will suggest some surprise scenes as I'm going through it. So that keeps it fun.
the characters controlling. Have you ever been at war with any of your characters before, wanting them to do one thing but yet they want to do something completely different?
Well, yeah, I didn't realize. Well, yeah, the first character in the first book ended up being way more physical. I'm not a physical confrontation kind of person, so it surprised me that she turned out to be that way. And I ended up having to go back and add some physical activities into her routine so that she wouldn't come off as being super, you know, able to do these physical things without having had some training of some kind. So yeah, they do surprise me from time to time.
Absolutely. Mr. Morningstar has a question here, but I've got to address this one first. Juicy, I'm sorry. If you're not a girl, I apologize because we don't talk too much outside of the live shows. And I know watching one of Katie's shows, I thought somebody had referred to you as she. So I'm going on a whim. I'm just guessing. That's my apologies if not. Mr. Morningstar says, I often start a movie and try to guess where the plot will go. If I'm wrong and their story goes differently, I sometimes take my, sorry, as the things jump up, my incorrection assumption and spin it into my own story. Have you ever done that?
I have not done that, but thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be really different.
I'll be doing
That's
that.
it's kind of like having coffee with a friend and you're watching somebody and you see the conversation and you just decide that you know what they're talking about and you make up your own little story of what's happening over there.
I like putting those little things I hear into my books. Sometimes people say the weirdest things.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Is your family really supportive of your work? You know, whether they read what you put out or whether they just give you the time to be able to sneak away and go and do your writing?
They're very supportive. I've been very happy. I didn't tell people for the longest time that I was writing. And even my husband, because he was watching hockey, he didn't even notice. So I was writing for about 2 months before he finally said, "What on earth are you doing over there?" And and then a year and a half or 2 years later, I had the book that I put out, and my mom wanted to read it, and there are some sex scenes in that initial book, so I didn't want her to read it. So I said, "No, you can't read it." And she said, "No, I want to read it. I'll help you with it." And I said, "No, you can't. You cannot read this." And finally she said, "If you publish it, I'm going to get it and read it anyway." And so I said, "Okay, all right, I will send you a copy," because she's in Ontario. We're quite a ways away. I said, "I'll send you a copy with the caveat that I do not want one single notation in the margin beside a sex scene. My mother will not be correcting my sex scenes." And so she laughed. She said, "I've had 4 kids, pretty much nothing I haven't done." So I sent it to her, and she did not put one mark in the margin of those sex scenes. But she gave me lots of other tips, so it was very productive. And so she's been super, super supportive. She reads all of my stuff before it goes out and gives me tips on how to improve it. So I'm very lucky and very fortunate.
Oh, well, that's so awesome. Yeah, that would probably make me a little nervous too. So any of my family members reading something like that, this is probably why I am not the author. I don't do the writing. I just feature the talent, so I don't have to ever go through something like that.
Well, the other thing she was funny about was there's some swearing. We don't really swear in my family at all, but there's some swearing in the book. And I was a little nervous about that too, because my mother doesn't swear. And so I said, just to warn you, there is some. And she's a big reader, so she knows. And she said when she finished reading it, she says, "Well, I did catch the swear words, and I think it's okay because it was necessary, and it was the character swearing, not you." Okay, I'll take that.
Yes, exactly. I know I've heard a few authors say that, that they want people to know that the characters that they create don't necessarily reflect them as a person. It's the character that they've created. So absolutely. But you can't even watch a kid show nowadays without there being swear words in it. I don't understand something that's PG. They're saying something. So you can't get away from it this day and age at all.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I've got an unfair question for you, but I do like to ask it. But I know it's really hard to answer. Do you have a favorite piece of yours, whether it's something that is published or something that you have tucked away that's not completed yet?
I think, I don't know whether it's because it was my first book or not. I really love the first book, the Secret Sky story that I wrote first. I really, it was my heart and soul at the time, you know. I think the new book is written with the experience of 8 books. So it's probably better structured and better written because, you know, I've written 8 books now. But that first book just had a piece of my heart. I bawled my eyes out when I finished the final version of it because it was just so much a part of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That first book will always be there, will always be your baby, your first.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Hyperactive Bookworm says, I'm kind of glad my mom will support me but won't read my stuff because she doesn't like horror dark stories. Yeah.
That's a bonus.
That's why you picked that genre, isn't it?
Well,
So you
it's
can
true
write what you want.
what you were saying earlier is very true. Like if you had to be that careful about the characters you create, they would be boring characters. You have to have free reign to create characters that would do things you would never do, say things you would never say. Otherwise, they'd just be you on the page, right?
Absolutely. And maybe do things that you've always wanted to try, but you've never had the gumption to. You can write it through a character.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that would be amazing. That kind of fits in with another question I had for you. Do you feel that it's most important to have like these amazing, incredible characters, or are you more of like the storyline and the plot of the story?
I think it's probably, I mean, they're intertwined. You can't do one without the other, but
Absolutely.
I think it's story first, but they have to have the characters in play to pull it off. Like if your characters don't have the chops to pull off that story, it's not going to ring true. So it is a bit of both, but I think about the story when I'm doing my plotting. I don't think about, you know, I'm not deep into the character. They do get deeper because as I write, I layer in things. You know, I'll go the first pass through, and then if I go through it again, I'll start adding depth to the characters in the scenes as I go through it the second and third time.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I like a nice balance of both. I know that there are some readers that are very character driven and some that are really like plot driven. But I do like that nice balance where you have the perfect amount of, you know, background and information about the characters, what they look like, so you can picture it in your head. But I
Mm-hmm.
really like when the story goes somewhere and where it's taking the characters, you know, place to place. So Heidi does have a question here, which kind of ties into another one that I had. She would like to know authors that have inspired you personally.
The very first author that inspired me, and I didn't even realize how much of an inspiration it was until I started writing, was way back when I read The Chrysalids by John Wyndham. And that's a story that's a dystopian story. I didn't even know it was called dystopian back when I read it, but it is about a future where there has been an apocalyptic event and it has polluted the gene pool. And so anyone born with an anomaly is killed to clean up the gene pool. And this little girl is able to speak telepathically. And of course, they don't know. None of the people know because it's not a visual thing. I mean, there's a lot of other things. There's a girl with 6 toes and stuff. And I can't even remember if it's the girl with the telepathy that has the 6 toes, but it's the way the kids protect one another. And her gift, this telepathy, ends up being a huge, strong gift, stronger than anybody that has the gift in the village. So that was a huge influence because I was just so fascinated by that. Of course, I wanted to do that. I wanted to, absolutely. And then I suppose other authors that when I started writing, I had been reading Charlene Harris, the Sookie Stackhouse books. I'd been reading J.R. Ward's books and Deborah Harkness's All Souls trilogy. Love that story. So I was influenced by those writers. And I think some of that's reflected in mine. In my writing, certainly the first person perspective is because that's the first books are first person. This book isn't. This new book, I thought I'd try my hand at third person, so a little different.
Did you find it harder to do the third person or?
At first, because I've done 8 books. This feels very much like my second book because all of the other books are in that one series and they're all first person from that one character's perspective. this book being third person and 3 characters' perspectives was quite a bit different, but I really wanted to stretch and try something a little different. So it was very hard at first, but I got the hang of it. And now I quite like third person.
By the way, the rest of her books as well, they have gorgeous covers. They all sound really good. I was peeking through them and I was trying so hard not to read like the blurbs or the synopsis or anything for like the second and third book and on from there, because I don't want to ruin anything, right? So I read the first one and I tried to leave it at that, but you can't help but go and glance at the covers and kind of poke around on Goodreads and Amazon. That's really exciting.
The designer will be happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not here listening, you know, great job. Awesome job. Yeah, no, absolutely. What about people that are not authors that inspired you in life? You know, whether it's a family member or a teacher?
I'm inspired a lot by music. I'm a big fan of Elton John's music and his lyrics. I'm a big fan of Pink's lyrics. I love the words she puts together. Lately, Adele, of course, her music and her lyrics have inspired me. As far as people go, I have a grandmother who's passed now, but she was a strong, independent woman when strong, independent women really weren't allowed to be strong and independent. She was a single mom ages ago and had to fight very hard for everything that she got. So my female characters in these books are not waiting for someone to come and rescue them. They rescue themselves. So and that's a very conscious choice that I make. And so I would have to say my grandmother probably gave me a little bit of that.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I was looking on your website and that you've got some of the songs that, you know, really get you, you know, going and into the works and get you pumped up to be able to write, and I saw that there was Pink on there and I was like, yes, she is inspirational. Her lyrics and her excitement and her energy and everything about her. Absolutely.
And that ribbon dancing that she does, oh my God, that's so good.
I know. And I haven't heard Adele's new song, but I hear everyone talking about it. I don't know why I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
I'll have to go check it out right after we're done on here. If you're ever struggling, you know, I don't necessarily want to say writer's block, but if you're ever struggling with, you know, something that you're working on, how do you get the creative juices flowing again? Do you just, you know, listen to music? Do you go for a walk?
So you've hit 2 of them. Definitely, I do hit a block every once in a while. So I live on a little tiny island, Gulf Coast island, and I go for walks. It's very pretty here. And so, yeah, we go for walks. I've got a bunch of girls that either will invite me or I'll invite them or I'll go by myself. And there's tons of trails around. So that's one thing I do. And if I am by myself, I'll often plug in Pink, and I've got a playlist of songs that I listen to, and they just really get me inspired. And the odd time too, if I don't feel like going out walking, if it's, you know, whatever, I will garden. I've got gardens, and I can, it's something about switching off that writer brain for a few hours and digging weeds out of the garden and playing in the dirt. And I'm not even thinking about the book, but believe it or not, I'll come back with an answer to a problem. I just let my subconscious work on it for a little while.
Well, it just starts flowing again for you.
It does. I'm lucky. I am lucky. I don't suffer that for a very long period of time. I hope I never do, touch wood.
Yeah, here. I don't know if that was loud enough. Knock on wood.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for authors because I couldn't imagine, you know, like right now I sit back and I think like I've got so many stories that I could write. Like I've got so many ideas. But sometimes, you know, you start working on a project and it's just not working out the way you want to. So you move on to something else. And I could imagine that eventually you kind of hit that wall where it's, you know, I don't know how to get this going. My creative juices, I've lost my excitement. So a lot of respect because you guys keep trucking on and you still come out with these like fantastic, amazing stories. And I just don't know how you do it. Hyperactive Bookworm would like to know, what did you read growing up and did that influence your writing genre?
I don't think so. I wasn't a huge reader growing up. I do remember reading Dune. I love Dune. I can't wait to see the new Dune movie that's coming out.
The movie, yes.
Yeah. So I read that, but I read a lot of classics growing up on our reading lists, of course, and I did boom out and read War and Peace. So I wouldn't say that they influenced me, other than perhaps they exposed me to a very wide breadth of material. I just fell in love with paranormal. I love the idea that, and I've often thought maybe it's because when I was growing up, I was always the skinny kid, little weakling, and they'd always think I was so weak. And I used to think, but I could laser you with my eyes, Wouldn't that be fun?
If you knew me, you'd be in trouble.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. That's why I've always been drawn to it. I was actually quite embarrassed to come out as being so enamored that I was writing books in this genre. But after people read them, I think they forgive me for my imagination.
You're safe here. You're safe on this channel. We love all the dark fiction, paranormal, horror, all you can think about, and all the beautiful subgenres that come with dark fiction. There's something out there for everyone. And I quite like paranormal, just the things, just the speculative fiction that you just don't know what could happen. There's weird things, and you could do all sorts of things and mash it up with different genres. And absolutely.
Sky's the limit with that genre.
Yes, you are safe here. You want to talk anything paranormal, you go for it. Oh, we've got somebody else that's popped in here. Hold on one second. Strange, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. Yes, absolutely. I was going to say, you do have a very soothing voice. You could probably do narrating audiobooks yourself.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Really? I wouldn't have thought so. I thought I had a pretty squeaky voice, actually.
No, not at all. Not at all. You could narrate audiobooks. I would listen to it. You could narrate your own. That would be amazing. A way to have audiobooks, but not have to pay as much money to get them out there, because they're expensive. Oh my goodness.
That's why I don't have them, because I didn't do it with the first one. And I thought, well, now if I do them, I was quoted a price between $3,000 and $5,000 per book. And there's 7 books. I'd have to mortgage the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so sad that they make it so hard to be able to do that, because then it's one more option for readers to be able to dive in. You could hit another target audience for the people that just, strictly listen to audiobooks. Or we do have, we have people that are blind in the community that really love to have the audiobooks, right? So having those options is great, but it is crazy expensive. I always joke that if I had the proper setup, proper mic, that I would offer it for dirt cheap for authors. Wouldn't it be just the dream to be able to read for a living? And to be able to, right? And then, you get paid a little bit of money, but you get to read these amazing stories. And absolutely. No, it's really sad.
I wish I had the acting chops to do the voices the way, if you've got a story and there are 4 different voices in a scene, and you see some actors, voice actors, are able to say one voice, and a minute later, not even a minute, they answer in a different voice, and then they keep those voices together in their heads. They're going back and forth, and I would not be able to do that.
And just flawlessly. It's not like you can tell that there's no editing in between. It just flows. And I mean, it definitely takes talent. Absolutely. You make a really good point there, because I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Or some books you come across and they've got 15 different characters. How do you remember what voice you were using for each? It would be impossible.
Yeah.
Rick's latest video on Adele's new song, recommended. Okay, well, I'll have to check it out then, Andreas, because I haven't yet, and I hear it's fantastic. And then when you said Adele, it made me think, oh yeah, I still haven't watched or listened to the new song.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you have a favorite piece or favorite part and a not so favorite part of the publishing process?
Well, reveal day is pretty fun. I love the revealing the cover It takes a while to
Yes.
get there, but revealing the cover is fun. And then release day, like yesterday was release day for me. And that was tremendous. It's kind of like you can breathe again because there's so much that goes into it up to that point. And the worst part is probably trying to reach new markets, reach new people. So like being here on your show is a terrific boon for me because, like you say, you're my peeps. You are the people that I'm trying to talk to my book about. I know you'll get excited about it. I'm excited being here with you people, but it's difficult to find those pockets of people. So yeah, that's the tough part. So thank you. I really appreciate being on here and talking to you.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And it's true, especially if you're an author that can write in a bunch of different genres and kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. I mean, there's a market for everything that you put out there, but you're right. You'd have to find that market and market to that market for every second or separate piece. I mean, I could only imagine. How about the editing? Do you enjoy the editing? I know a lot of authors say that they quite enjoy the polishing of their stories.
I don't mind. I have a trick though for it because when I send it out, I usually have 2 kinds of edits done. Well, 3 with the proofread. But the first is the structural edit, and when that one comes back, I flip through it, and I love my editor. I flip through it, and then I curse a little bit, and then I put it away. And then,
Mom, don't listen. She doesn't curse.
under my breath.
Yeah, that's right. It's all in here. It's, oh man.
Yeah. And then it takes a couple days for me to be able to pull it out and look at it objectively. And usually I will end up accepting at least 90% of the comments, and the book improves tremendously after that. And then after I've polished it as best I can and I'm happy with it and the beta readers are happy with it, I then send it out to a copy editor. And when she sends it back, that's the little kick in the pants that reminds me that I really don't know this language as well as I thought I knew this language, because it is a sea of red again. And I have to go back, get rid of the comma splices. And, that should be a semicolon, not a colon, or,
It's
all those.
a work in progress for sure. Absolutely.
I've learned a lot though. They are my biggest teachers. Editors are my biggest teachers for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to be firm when you're doing the editing. I don't know if I could do their job either. High respect to anybody that edits as well. Hey, Noah, thanks for coming in. It means a lot that you've come to hang out with us for a bit. We've got Priscilla that's popped in here as well, wondering that it's almost Halloween. What spooky books are on your nightstand? What are you planning on reading during the spooky season?
I have a Stephen King.
Ooh, which one? Do you remember?
Okay, hold on. Just be a second. It's right here. It is. Oh, darn. Where is it? Okay. Sorry, folks. I couldn't find it.
No, that's okay.
But I do have Anne Rice, The Witching Hour.
Oh, I like that cover too.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's really, it's pretty shiny. But anyway,
That's
so
okay.
oh man, that's tiny writing. But anyway, I've got that one that Stephen King, I think it was The Stand, but I haven't, geez, I thought it was, I must have put it by my bedside already.
Yeah, you've got it ready to go. You're like, let's get this ready. Yeah, she said Anne Rice. Yes. I'm going to admit something. Please, nobody attack me. I have never read Anne Rice yet. That is one author that I have on my list, but there's just so many, like.
I know. Too many books, not enough days.
Yes, exactly. I always make jokes that I'm going to be crushed one day from my TBR, but you know what? That's okay. I can just read my way out. Yes, a mystery of which Stephen King lingers.
Yeah. Honestly, it was right there. I don't know. Ghost must have taken it. Oh, okay. She's frozen up. She told me this is the time we can talk about her. Oh, no. Back.
Too late. It may happen again. The monster didn't get me yet. I'm still here. I'm surprised that we're not having more glitches than what we are, because we have quite the storm and the wind going on here. You would think that I was like back in Lethbridge or something with the wind. It's crazy here. So
Wow.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I hear if it's The Stand, I hear The Stand's really good. That's one of his that I have not read. So I'll look forward to hearing what you thought of that one. And The Witching Hour. And you guys can all smack me on the head later for not reading Anne Rice yet. Where would you like to see your work 5 to 10 years from now? Do you want like some type of like motion pictures, have something adapted into film, or?
Yes, yes. I get that a lot, and I imagine most authors do. I know a lot of authors want to see their stuff in film, but I do get a lot of people saying that they'd like to see the books, both of them now, in both the series and this one in like a Netflix show or something. The first one would be lots of fun because there's flying in it, and so there would have to be a lot of green screens. This one here, it's set in Vancouver. It's set in a downtown. It could be any downtown city, and it really wouldn't take a lot of, there's not a lot of costuming. It's not like outer space or a medieval castle. It's contemporary times. So yeah, I'd love to see them made into something like that. Yeah, it'd be very fun. And then I could do a cameo. I'd have to
Netflix. Netflix, if you're listening.
Yes.
Come on. We're Canadian.
Yeah.
You
And then maybe I could
exclusives.
and then maybe I could afford to get the audios done.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I tell you, if I come across anybody that does audiobooks for a good price, I'll be like, listen, you need to go and hang out with JP. She needs to have her books put into audiobook for a price that's reasonable. I do know that there are some people that do it, but you know, as soon as they start getting into that career, they just get bombarded with people saying, well, what about me? What about me? And then eventually they have to start, you know, okay, well, now I'm really going to start charging because this is going to become a full-time job. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, thanks for coming by. Another person from the UK and fellow author. That's really exciting. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Hey, Rob.
Yes, TBRs will always grow quicker than we can actually read them. I watched somebody do a TikTok video. It was really funny with all these guys. These two guys were running around chasing each other, and they couldn't reach each other. And the person just put a commentary beside it. It says, me and my TBR. I haven't laughed so hard. It was, oh my goodness. I should have shared it on all of my platforms because it was hilarious. It's very true. There's just so many incredible authors out there. And then getting to do things like this, because I haven't had the privilege of getting to read JP's work yet. I was introduced to her. I've got to hang out with her, talk to her. I've got to read her books, you know, the synopsis of them, eye them down, put them on my wish list. But I really enjoy getting to do things like this as well and getting to know you and your personality. Because then when you jump into the book, you can really see the author's, you know, personality, quirks, humor, everything really come through the writing, which only makes it, to me personally, that much better. Do you enjoy getting to hear from your readers? You know, if there's something that they really connected with, or even if there's something that they didn't really enjoy as much, or...
Oh yeah, I love it when readers get in touch with me. I think it's wonderful. I love hearing their feedback. I'm always interested when I get comments about where they think the characters could go or what could happen to them or suggested scenes, because I haven't always thought of those things. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll keep that in mind for sure. For sure. But some of the other things too that, you know, when you were talking about, you see, once you get to know someone and then you read a book that they've written. I do that too when I get to know other authors and I read their books, and I just find it really fascinating. I was asked a question a little while ago, are there bits and pieces of me in my characters? And in this last character, Jane Walker, I did give her one of my annoying habits. I'm a little bit of a neat, excuse me, a little bit of a neat freak. And it drives my husband and my sister-in-law crazy sometimes because, you know, the joke in our family is we don't have a junk drawer because everything has a place. And so I gave that trait to Jane. I make her a little bit annoying that way. So people who know me will recognize that when they're reading through the book.
I love that. Well, it makes me want to read it even more because I'm a little bit of a neat freak too. I'm a little too organized. And, you know, when something's in the wrong place, you can appreciate somebody else doing the dishes for you. But when the item you're looking for is in the wrong place, I mean, how does that not just drive you up the wall?
Well, when I say my sister-in-law, I drive her crazy. She does that on purpose. She will do dishes and hide something on me just to see how long it takes me to find it.
Oh my goodness. That's where I'd be losing. I'd be like, listen, I need it. I'm trying to do something here. Well, I can relate to you there. So then that's only going to make me relate to your character even more. Mr. Morningstar, I enjoyed the intro to your website discussing your decision to abbreviate your name. I thought that was really clever and really cute too. And saying that, you don't mind if it's pronounced incorrectly or spelled incorrectly, but just why not make it easier with social media today and make it JP?
It's so much easier, I tell you. When I was in Mexico, that was the funniest because people will call me Ho.
Really?
Hannah. Ho Hannah.
Yeah.
So I mean, Ho. Like I tell you, I do say hi to everybody. So all right. Yes, Ho.
Oh man, that's too funny. That's too funny. Well, I think it's really cute.
James
total
is the
opposite of a neat freak. Jay, what you're are you a slob or are you just, kind of like your organized mess? Because we all have our little bit of our organized mess out there too. How about co-writing? Is there an author or even a handful of authors that you've ever dreamed of writing something alongside them?
Well, I would write anything alongside Deborah Harkness or Charlene Harris or J.R. Ward. I would write anything alongside those ladies. Oh, even Victoria Aveyard. Oh my goodness, what an imagination she has. I never knew there were so many supernatural things you could do, and she put them all into one book, and I don't think she didn't even touch the tip of her imagination iceberg. I would love to poke around in her head for a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it would be really hard to co-write with somebody to kind of mesh your writing styles together? Or?
Yeah, I think that you'd probably have to come up with a way to do it that complemented both of your styles. Like maybe each person would take a character and write that character rather than write a scene. So yeah. I would always be writing one character. She would always be writing another. Yeah, I don't know. I've never done that. I've never collaborated on writing anything other than business documents. So, so yeah, it would be interesting to try, I guess.
Yeah, that would be kind of neat. Yeah, to each do your own character, but have like the storyline or the idea of the story put together. That would be really cool. That would be really hard, though, to try to mesh writing styles, personalities. But when you see it done, like a lot of times it comes out like just smashing, like really, really good. But no, that's really exciting. I've just got another couple that's popped in here. Oh, James says he's a slob. Well, James, we would be in there wanting to tidy up, I guess. Hi, Katie. Thanks. This is our first author live, which is really exciting. Thank you for coming by and hanging out with us. Don't forget, you guys, if you have any questions, pop them in there. And if I've missed them, just keep popping them in there. How about one of my... I've got two more questions that I just have to ask, but they're more like fun questions. They're not necessarily about your writing directly. But if you could rewrite a classic of any kind, doesn't have to be a horror classic, any classic that's out there, and put your own spin on it, which would you choose to rewrite?
I think I would take the Sleeping Beauties, the Red Riding Hoods, those ones, and I would make them contemporary, and I would flip the role so that it was the woman who was the knight in shining armor. I would like to rewrite all of those. Contemporary times, I think, because I think growing up, I enjoyed those stories. But now that I'm an adult, I would like to see it flipped.
No, I think that's a really good idea. I haven't had that answer yet. That's really, really neat. I would read that personally. Absolutely. Sorry, popping in. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I don't know how you do the reading of the comments and talking to me and bringing everyone in. That is a skill. That is a big skill that I don't have. So I'll just...
Oh, I sometimes feel bad, though, because I'm like, just wait a second. Sorry, let me go through the comments here. Bloodmark is announced as the first book in a new series. If you think I could talk to you, you would think it would be like Monday morning without my coffee yet or something here, you guys, stumbling over my words. How did your first series progress? Did you know how many books there would be? Or did you plan in a multi-part stories, any standalones?
So both of my first books, being Bloodmark and Secret Sky, they're one of. I write them, it's a one-off story. I did not know there were other books coming out of it. But when I finished the first book in Secret Sky, in the Gift Legacy, I so missed writing, and I missed those characters. I wanted to fly again really badly. So the second, third, fourth, and fifth, all those books that followed are self-contained stories, but the common theme is the overarching control society that controls the flyers and the one character who's growing as the book goes on. With this one here, I too started it and wrote it as a one-off because I'm never sure if there's going to be a second one. I was probably 2/3, 3/4 of the way through this when I realized that it had some legs. The characters had more adventures and more stories, and there are a few elements from this book that have potential for a second for sure. I've outlined a second. I'm still getting ideas for it. I started writing it last Sunday. It was my little present to myself for getting this far with Bloodmark. So I started writing it. It does take me about a year to put a book out. So, don't hold your breath. But I've already written the first scene and it is explosive. I love
Way
that.
to rope us in. She ropes us in with like the last little part of her synopsis of Bloodmark. And now she's roping us into book 2 and it's not even there yet.
Not even written.
Way to tease. Yeah. That's too funny. Well, there you go. Well, that just makes you, now everyone can go to your other series and they can binge read it. Give them some time to wait for book 2 to come out. They can dive into Bloodmark as well. And then by then, maybe, because it takes a while, to like release these babies and to like really truly polish them, you guys. But then maybe then book 2 would be out and then you can just binge read that too.
Yeah. And you can download on my website. I've got the first chapters for all of my books downloadable in PDF format. So you can read the first chapter, sometimes the first 2 or 3. I think Bloodmark is because some of the chapters are small.
Yeah, absolutely. Get a sneak peek.
Get a sense of it.
I was checking in and I was reading through it and I thought, this is it. If I start this, I'm going to have to put everything that I'm reading on hold and give myself a physical copy.
I love hearing that.
Thank you for saying that these are addictive. I love doing them. So if you find them addictive and you want to come and hang out with us anytime, that means a lot to me. JP, are you doing nano?
I'm not doing nano. I'm not a fast writer. I really am not a fast writer. No, I'm a slow writer. I probably, I maybe 1,000 to 2,000 words on good days. And so for me to jump into that project, I already write full time. And I've got this other half that I do that is now she's gone for sure, so we can talk about her. Hi, Katie. Hi, Ethan. Hi, official Rob Shepherd. Nice to see you all here. I can't hear you back. Maybe darn. She's back. Sorry. We have to be quiet.
Shoot. Now. Couldn't make fun of me for too long. That's it. Sorry. Way to spoil the party, you guys. I'm back.
Oh, darn. I can't even remember what I was yakking about.
Was it nano?
Nano.
Yes.
That's right. See, that's why you're here, to keep me on track, because I am, Anyway, no, I'm not doing it. I spend half of my day, mornings writing, afternoons doing my marketing other hat. So yeah, I can't do it. It would kill me. It would kill me to do nano, but I have very great respect for people who do it. And I know a lot of good books come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It'd be like doing some type of like speed reading, or some people do those like time reading sessions, or I can't remember what they're called, but I'm like, I can't do that. I like to be able to sit down and not rush myself and really dive in there. But yeah, no, absolutely. Nano would be really hard. I did a first story. I've got somebody that came in. Thanks for coming, Ethan. It means a lot. And Rob said he considered doing the abbreviation for his name for his books. Unfortunately, my middle name starts with C, so my pen name would be R.C. Shepherd. Needless to say, I gave that idea the bum rush. Oh man, you'll have to just make up a middle name and use some other initial. Oh, this probably is going back to you rewriting a classic. Would love a contemporary story like that.
Oh, yes, yes.
Got Nat that's popped in here. Hey, thanks for coming by, Nat. And I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss any questions up here. Sorry, that's what happens when StreamYard kicks you out for a couple of seconds. Everything is a miss. No, we are good. The last question I saw was Nano. Have you ever taken part in Nano, or has it never really been your thing?
Oh, it scares the bejeebers out of me. Something like Nano. Like I just cannot fathom being that committed to a writing schedule, 50,000 words in 30 days. I mean, I could probably do it, but I think it would take all the fun out of it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely.
It's not my jam.
No, but like you said, it's fun to watch and to see what people are doing and creating and what's coming out of it. But again, that goes back to my comment about high respect for authors that can do things like that and can spit out these incredible, unique, raw stories for us bookworms to be able to consume. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioned marketing, your other hat. Do you enjoy what you do for the other side of things, or?
I enjoy some of it. I enjoy this. This is fun. I love this.
Yes.
I enjoy the graphic stuff. I'm not very good at it, but I do enjoy doing it. I just learned something brand new the other day. I was setting up a book signing, and when I was handing over the books, the woman said, "Do you have any shelf toppers?" And I didn't even know what those were. So she says, "You know, the little things for the shelf." So I didn't know what they were, but I do know now, and I've created some. So what they are is you just print it out like a half sheet of paper. And on the bottom half, you put your marketing material. So for me, it would be like a bookmark that's horizontal that has the tagline on it. And then they fold that and slip the folded half under the books on the shelf.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought of it.
So I thought, well, this is great. It's pretty inexpensive and not difficult for me to do myself. And that's just something else I can give to bookstores that carry my books. And my books aren't carried in a lot of stores. Usually they're just local stores that carry the books, and everyone else, people need to order them because I'm just not well known enough for them to use a lot of shelf space for me. So.
That comment just breaks my heart.
Well, people know where to find them. That's the big thing. And word of mouth, huge. Word of mouth is it's still the biggest and best way to find new audience and new people who like your books. And we all want to find those people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love to. So I obviously am a bookaholic. It's truly, truly an addiction to the point where I've got more than enough books to read right now. However, I haven't bought a book in a few months, and I'm like dying to make my own book order. And so sometimes when that happens, I will go and buy a book for a friend, for a fellow reader, and a book that I've read and loved, or a book that I have on my list to read so that we can plan a buddy read. And I will give that book to my friend. So I quench that thirst of buying a book, but I'm not necessarily adding on to my already sky-high TBR. That's how much of addiction it is, which again goes to word of mouth. I think that's great if people do that, especially like indie and small press. If you're, gifting to a friend or a family member that also loves to read, to go and pick those for the Christmas gifts or birthday gifts, or even just to have somebody to buddy read the book with, because there's nothing better than that. So I think you're right on that. Word of mouth is huge. And reviews. You guys, if you read an author's work, please, please, please leave a review on Goodreads and Amazon, because it absolutely helps. Word of mouth, yes. Oldest and still the best. Absolutely. With all the different marketing that we have today, it's hard to keep up and to keep your name above all of the releases. Does it ever, give you that, I don't want to say anxiety, but that stress? You just announced your book and then somebody else is announcing theirs, and you have to try to I don't want to say one up them, because it's not a competition, obviously, but does it ever become overwhelming to try to keep your book up there in people's eyes?
Oh, it does. It's a very competitive field. I like to think of other authors, especially authors in my genre, as they're not my competition. They are the ones that hold me up and lift me up, and I do the same for them. That's what I like to think of it as. So, if I know someone's got a book coming out around the same time as mine, I'll try to make sure I'm visiting their marketing sites, their social media sites, and I'm sharing and retweeting and putting their books in my newsletter if I can, if I've read it and I really like it. I do. If I recommend something, it's because I've read it. Typically, I don't recommend stuff I don't read. So I just like to bring other authors along with me and hope that it doesn't become. It can be overwhelming. So if you think of them on a little different term, it's easier. So someone's doing really great. Make sure you're sharing it a lot, and they'll turn around and share your stuff too.
It's very true. And there's nothing better than seeing authors supporting authors. It just makes my heart go ooey gooey. It's so nice to see that you're out there supporting each other, reading each other's work, recommending it. Absolutely. And then it makes me want to go over to your guys' pages and buy your guys' work, because you guys are supporting each other. But that goes back to me having a bit of a book buying addiction, obviously. But it's okay. It's a healthy addiction, right? Reading and buying books, we're good. Yeah. Okay, here's a hard question. Can you do this for both your series and for Bloodmark? Can you describe, first off, thank you for coming by. I didn't say hi yet. And can you describe your book in 3 words? And then can you describe your other series in 3 words?
Ooh, okay. 3. Oh my goodness, that's a tough
It's a hard one, yeah.
Yeah. So this one would be dark, empowering, and I think surprising.
Ooh, I like those ones together. Those are good picks.
And the first series would be, first of all, wondrous, flying, wondrous, addictive. That came from readers, so that they are addictive. And, I don't know. Hopeful.
Oh, okay. I like that too. Yeah. I like that too. Yeah. Sorry, just catching up here. Loophole shopping habit. It's very true. It's very true. But I'm gifting to others, right? So I'm being nice and I'm getting rid of that addiction at the same time. I think authors who take part in Nano are incredible. I don't do it either, because though I could write 50K words in 30 days, it'd be 50K words of trash. I don't believe it for a second, Rob. Oh, Nat's working on a horror anthology. That's really exciting.
Good for you.
Buddy reads, absolutely. And I always like to say that, when I have an author on that I haven't had the privilege of getting to read their work yet, if you ever want to do buddy read, nudge, nudge, hey, my reviewing list is long, but you know what? If somebody comes to me and says, hey, I'm interested in reading this book and I've already got it on my list, it just pushes the book up on the reading list that much quicker, right? Okay, my friend in the horror tube community wants to break into proofreading for indie authors. Should they just approach authors directly, or is there a more professional way, in your opinion? Is this really for a friend, Mr. Morningstar, or is this for you? Would you prefer if they approached you directly?
I usually, I usually go with a recommendation. because it's a big investment of someone's time, and you want to make sure that you're getting a really a proofread that it's not just being able to catch typos and stuff like that. It's being able to make sure that you're consistent. So if I've used Morningstar Street in one place and then I change it to Morningstar Road, I need to know you're going to catch that. And also, one of the things that I count on is that they're going to be consistent with my punctuation choices and my paragraphing, and that they're going to catch things like if the footer is not centered on one page or is the wrong number. So it's not just, it's a big job. It's not as little a job as a lot of people think it is. It's a big job, and people pay good money for it. And so I generally go with a recommendation. And as it turns out, I just happen to have one that I use all the time. But I suppose you could approach an author. What they'll probably ask you to do is do a run through on a chapter and just see if you're a good match for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Send over a little bit. I mean, I couldn't imagine proofreading. I've done some beta reading, and that is hard, let alone trying to do proofreading, because with beta reading, you're more just looking at like the content of the story, not necessarily going through all the grammar and punctuation and formatting and everything. So that would definitely be an absolute hard job. Mr. Morningstar, connect with me later. I may have some people that might help direct your friend in a certain direction, but I don't want to take up JP's time to discuss that for sure. Agreed with supporting other authors. Yes, I agree. When you see authors supporting authors, it makes me want to support those authors even more, especially if they're...
This is a very supportive community. The author community, I have found, especially the indie author community, but I'm not saying just indies, because I'm supported by lots of people who aren't indies. They're very, very good about taking my stuff and putting it in their Twitter feed and, Instagramming, repeating and commenting on things. So yeah, authors supporting authors. It's a tremendous community, and I'm so glad to be a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. And with the social media that we have today, and with the groups of people that you can reach. Somebody told me that TikTok was the place to be. And I hate TikTok because it's one of those things that you get on and you just end up scrolling. But I have also an obsession with supporting authors in any way I possibly can, because you guys are like my rock stars. You guys are my celebrities in my eyes. I don't watch too much TV or movies. I always have my nose stuck in a book. So I started a TikTok because I thought, if people are right and this is the place to be at this moment to really promote authors, then that's where I'm going to be. And wow, within a couple months, I've got like almost 500 followers and people, interacting with your content. And I hear authors, you can sell 20 to 30 books from, like one post on there. Like, it's insane. But trying to figure out how everything works, it's like going back to school, trying to figure out all these platforms. So again, that goes back to respect for authors, trying to get their marketing out there, get their names out there, try to keep above the slew of incredible books that are being released. So having that support from a fellow author is just that much more special. Absolutely. I agree, Priscilla. That's probably one of the hardest questions I've had pop up on my channel, because how do you narrow it into 3 words?
Yeah,
you did really good.
I have a hard enough time narrowing it down into the book description. You get way more words than that.
Try to do the synopsis at the back. And let me tell you, when you read a synopsis, you cannot take your own words and try to describe what a book is about any better than the author themselves. You guys could tell that you really worked on trying to give the perfect amount of details without giving anything away, but enough to sink your teeth and hook the reader.
It is the hardest part. The hardest part. And fess up time, I don't write mine. I try to write mine, but I usually end up hating it and then getting someone else to write it for me. And it's easier to have someone else write it for you. I just not my strength, for sure.
Oh, I could believe it. Or you'd want to perfect it or add a little bit more, and then, yeah, absolutely. I don't think I could do it either.
My back of the book would be, a half a book.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, I would just put at the back. Listen, just read it. You'll love it.
That's what reviewers are for.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And you know what? It's great. And reading is so subjective. So, I mean, having reviewers out there giving their thoughts, everyone's got a different thought on it or something different that they've pinpointed that they enjoyed or that they didn't enjoy so much. So, really, in the end, you really just got to pick the book up and see for yourself if you liked it or not. That's what I'm going to say, JP. Everyone just go pick up her work.
There,
Okay.
the proofreaders found somebody.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. There you go, Mr. Morningstar. Pass that on to your friend. Nat needs somebody to proofread.
Thank you, Andrea.
Yes, absolutely. I got to do this now. Sorry. I should have had it out and ready, you guys. Why do I never think of this? Whenever somebody that's in the chat has picked up the book, whether it was before the live or during the live, I always joke that I needed one of those big bells to be able to ring beside me. So I found some Christmas bells. It seems to work. So
thank you. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I should have had a bell. I didn't know. Next time I'll have a bell.
I need to set up something, have one of those big, huge bells that I can just start ringing, but for now, the Christmas bells work, right? We're not that far from Christmas. James, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. Perfect. I'm glad you were able to find a beta reader as well. Well, wonderful. If anyone has any questions, we have passed that hour mark, and I don't want to take JP's whole entire evening. And you've been so busy and doing so many shows and trying to market your new release, which Bloodmark, you guys, just came out yesterday. We're still in celebration mode. We should have thrown you like a party. I should have
had some champagne.
Yeah, champagne. Maybe we could have had like one of those poppers that blow the confetti everywhere. Maybe I should have decorated a little bit. Maybe I should have put a little more time into the setting of this one. Is really excited, but I don't want to take too much of her time. So if you have a question before I let her go, make sure you pop it into the comments as soon as you possibly can, so I can give her a moment to be able to answer it. But other than that, before we do head off, do you want to just go ahead again and talk about Bloodmark, the release, what it's about for anybody that may be joining later on and missed the first part of it?
Oh, sure. So Bloodmark is Jane Walker's story. She was a woman who was abandoned at birth. She bears a chain of blood red birthmarks that snake around her body, and she suffers debilitating nightmares. And her best friend that she met in group homes move out of the rooming house and into an apartment, and life is turning around. She meets a guy that sees past her birthmarks, and then the first birthmark disappears, and she is ecstatic until she finds out that a killer is stalking her, and the only things keeping her alive are the birthmarks, and they're disappearing.
Tattoo. Get yourself a tattoo artist. Keep those marks on you. Well, I'm going to have to go and pick it up for myself and take a peek at it as soon as I possibly can, because it sounds so good. Again, anybody, if you want a buddy read, just it just kind of bumps it up because you get excited. It's like going to a movie. If you go to a movie by yourself, and you were really excited, you really enjoyed the movie, you have nobody to discuss it with when you leave. You're just, sitting there with your own thoughts. But if you go to the theater with a friend and you see a really good movie, when you go out, you have somebody to talk it over with, discuss it, and get all excited with.
That's a very good analogy. Very good.
Any books on your writing craft that you like?
Stephen King's book, for sure. Absolutely. I have that one. I have, I have this, of course, now I can't remember the name of the book. It's the storytelling book. Big one. Sorry, I'm blanking out. I must need wine.
Yeah, forget coffee. It's not Monday morning here.
Yeah. Stephen King's for sure I've read and quite enjoy. Strunk and White, I know you're not supposed to read it, but I actually did read Strunk and White, and that's a very good book to trim your writing down and make it a little more concise.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen King seems to be the one that really stands out a lot for a lot of people, both writers and readers. I know when you go into a chapters, we've talked about how the horror section is like maybe a shelf and a half, the majority of it's Stephen King.
The Story Grid, that's the other one.
Oh, yes.
Blanked on it completely.
It came back. It came back before the show was done.
The retrieval system is sluggish.
I was going to say, you're probably going to get off and be like, oh, shoot, yes. It's too late now. Well, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us. Yes, it sounds spooky and dark. Nat likes it. Can't wait to sink my teeth into Blood Mark. Thanks for a great chat. Gotta run. Thank you for coming all the way from Australia and the UK.
Thank
everyone
you.
from all over the world. JP, thank you for coming so much, get the words out. Thank you so much for coming on and taking time with me to sit and talk about Bloodmark, your other series, and just getting to know you. I've been looking forward to it since we first connected months and months ago.
Well, thank you. It's been fun. This is lots of fun. It's one of the very few live events I get to do. So I'm tickled that you had me on your show. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome anytime you ever have something that's coming out or just want to talk or promote anything, just give me a poke. You're more than welcome anytime. Like I say, I love my authors, but there is a cherry on top when they're a fellow Canadian, because there's not many of them out there. We need more Canadian authors. And thank you for everyone in the chat. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. Thank you for the awesome questions. Juicy, if you're still here, I'm sorry that I just assumed from somebody else's live show that you were a girl. I feel awful. Typical Canadian saying sorry again. And as always, I will jump off here, and once I am done, I will go and put all of JP's information down below, all of her links, all of her socials, to her website. So go and pick up her work. Go and follow her on all of her socials and support her and send her all the love, because she obviously deserves it. And it's been just so wonderful getting to talk to you and getting to know more about you.
It's been a hoot. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Bye now.